The meeting room fell silent as the holographic message flickered into existence. 12 pairs of eyes fixed on the blue-skinned figure that hovered above the circular table. Commander Jane Howard felt her heart skip a beat. After decades of searching the stars, humanity finally had its answer to the age-old question, are we alone? The answer was a resounding no, but it came with complications no one had prepared for. People of Earth, the alien began, its voice translated through Earth's most advanced AI systems. I am Delegate Zorvac of the Galactic Hegemony Council, representing 17 spacefaring civilizations that govern this sector of the Milky Way. Jane glanced around the table at the other members of Earth's United Defense Council. General Frank Miller sat with his arms crossed, his weathered face betraying no emotion beyond mild annoyance. Director Olivia Blackwell of Earth Intelligence scribbled notes furiously on her tablet. Secretary William Patel of Global Affairs looked pale, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. The alien continued, Your world has been monitored since your species first began broadcasting radio signals into space. The Council has determined that Earth has reached sufficient technological advancement to be formally integrated into our governing structure. Integrated, General Miller muttered, just loud enough for Jane to hear. As of this transmission, Zorvac said, Earth falls under hegemony jurisdiction. Your governments will remain intact but subordinate to Council directives. You will be expected to comply with all interstellar regulations, including resource quotas, technology restrictions, and population controls. Jane felt her chest tighten. This wasn't first contact as humanity had imagined it. This was a takeover. To ensure peaceful transition, our fleet has established positions around your planet. Resistance would be... The alien paused, searching for the right word, unwise. You have one standard galactic cycle, approximately 7 of your Earth days, to prepare for formal integration. We await your acknowledgement. The hologram vanished, leaving the Defense Council in stunned silence. Secretary Patel was the first to speak. This has to be some kind of joke. A test, maybe? It's not, Director Blackwell said flatly. She tapped, her tablet projecting images onto the main screen. Our satellites have confirmed 23 vessels in Earth orbit. They appeared 3 hours ago, somehow bypassing all our early warning systems. Assessment of their capabilities? Jane asked, slipping into her role as commander. Based on energy readings, any one of their ships could level a major city. The entire fleet could render Earth uninhabitable within hours, Blackwell replied. They can't be serious, General Miller said, his voice oddly calm. They expect us to just roll over? According to our analysis, they very much do, Blackwell responded. From what we can gather, this is their standard procedure. They've likely done this hundreds of times with other worlds. Jane stood up, drawing everyone's attention. At 42, she was younger than most in the room, but her record in handling crisis situations had earned her respect. What they don't understand is that humanity has been preparing for this moment without even knowing it, she said. Preparing how? Asked Secretary Patel. Our most advanced weapons would be like throwing rocks at a tank. Not all preparation is military, Jane replied. 6 months ago, our deep space listening post detected approaching ships. We couldn't identify them, but the pattern of movement was clearly artificial. General Miller nodded. That's when we accelerated Project Guardian. Several council members exchanged confused glances. Most of you were not briefed on this, Miller explained. Need-to-know basis. Project Guardian is Earth's hidden defense initiative, developed under the leadership of Dr. Alan Cruz. Jane tapped her communicator. Dr. Cruz, you're needed in the war room. 5 minutes later, a disheveled man in his early 50s hurried in. Alan Cruz looked like he hadn't slept in days, his hair sticking out at odd angles and coffee stains on his rumpled shirt. Despite his appearance, his eyes were sharp and alert. I take it our visitors have made contact? He asked, looking around the room. They've given us 7 days to prepare for integration, Jane explained. We need options. Dr. Cruz pulled up a chair. What I'm about to share is known only to a handful of people on the planet. He produced a small device and placed it on the table. With a tap, it projected a complex series of equations and diagrams. 15 years ago, While studying quantum field theory, I stumbled upon something unexpected. A way to manipulate the fundamental forces that govern our universe, he explained, using the simplest terms he could manage. In theory, we could create a field that would alter how matter and energy interact within a defined space. In English, please, Secretary Patel requested. Dr. Cruz sighed. We can create a bubble around Earth where their weapons simply won't work. The room erupted in skeptical murmurs. That sounds like science fiction, someone said. So did aliens until about an hour ago, Dr. Cruz countered. We've been building the infrastructure for this system ever since we detected their approach. Underground facilities across the globe, hidden satellites in orbit, and installations on Mars and Europa. How effective would this defense be? Jane asked. If it works as designed, total protection. Their energy weapons would simply cease to exist when they enter our space. Not absorbed or deflected, the energy would literally vanish, Dr. Cruz explained. And if it doesn't work? General Miller asked. Dr. Cruz met his gaze. Then humanity will need to find another way to survive. Jane processed this information. How long until the system is operational? We need 5 more days. Maybe 6, Dr. Cruz admitted. We're pushing the boundaries of physics here. Jane turned to Ambassador Ryan Green, who had remained silent throughout the exchange. Then we need to buy time. Ryan, you and your team will need to stall. Express interest but concern. Ask questions. Request clarifications on their integration processes. Ambassador Green nodded. I can work with that. These types seem bureaucratic. We can drown them in diplomatic procedures. Meanwhile, Jane continued, we need more information about their fleet, their weapons, defenses, communication systems. I have something that might help with that, General Miller said. He pulled up an image of a sleek spacecraft. The UNS Defiant, our most advanced vessel incorporating some technology we salvaged from a crashed scout ship 3 years ago. That incident was covered up, of course. Captain Keith Barnes commands her, Jane noted. He's a good man. The Defiant can approach under diplomatic pretenses, Miller suggested. Barnes and his crew can gather the intelligence we need while appearing cooperative. Jane looked around the room at Earth's defense leaders. So that's our plan. Stall diplomatically, gather intelligence covertly, and complete Project Guardian before their deadline expires. She stood up, her posture straight and confident despite the weight now resting on her shoulders. I know this situation isn't what any of us expected when we took our oaths to protect Earth, but I also know this. Throughout human history, we've faced overwhelming odds before. We've stared extinction in the face and refused to blink. Her eyes met each person around the table. We've never faced extinction before and decided to accept it. I don't propose we start now. Director Blackwell nodded slowly. To be clear, we're planning to defy an alien armada that could reduce our planet to ash. A hint of a smile crossed Jane's face. Yes, Director. That's exactly what we're planning to do. Well then, General Miller said, rising to his feet. Let's get to work. As the council members filed out, each with their assignments, Jane remained behind. She approached the window that overlooked the city below. People moved about their daily lives, completely unaware that the fate of humanity now hung in the balance. For a moment she envied their ignorance. Her communicator beeped. Captain Barnes was calling in from the Defiant. Captain, she answered. How quickly can you prepare for a diplomatic mission? We can be ready in 12 hours, Commander, Barnes replied. May I ask the nature of our diplomacy? Jane watched as clouds drifted over the city. We're going to save the world, Captain, one way or another. Dr. Alan Cruz hadn't slept in 36 hours. His eyes burned as he stared at the glowing equations on his screen. The underground facility in Nevada hummed with activity, scientists and engineers working around the clock. Time was running out. Earth had less than 6 days before the hegemony expected an answer. Coffee? Asked Lisa Donovan, sliding a steaming mug across his desk. Alan looked up at his chief engineer with bloodshot eyes. Thanks. How are the field tests coming along? Lisa sat down heavily in the chair opposite him. At 38, she was younger than Alan but carried the same weight of responsibility on her shoulders. The quantum displacement shield reached 60% stability in the last test. It's progress, but not enough. We need at least 90% to create a reliable defense, Alan muttered, taking a sip of the bitter coffee. What's causing the instability? Power fluctuations. Lisa pulled up a diagram on her tablet. The energy required to maintain the field is massive. We're pushing our generators to their limits. Alan rubbed his tired eyes. The equations are sound. The theory works. We just need to solve the power problem. The quantum displacement shield was the heart of Project Guardian. In simple terms, it would create a field that altered how matter and energy interacted within Earth's vicinity. Alien weapons would pass through Earth's space without causing harm, like trying to set fire to something while inside a universe where fire couldn't exist. The satellites are in position, Lisa reported. All 15 of them, disguised as communication. Relays. The ground-based generators are at 80% completion. Alan nodded. And the Mars installation? Online as of this morning. The Europa base is still having some issues with the extreme cold, but the team thinks they'll solve it within 48 hours. A knock at the door interrupted them. A young assistant poked his head in. Dr. Cruz, Commander Howard is on the secure line for you. Alan picked up the phone, putting it on speaker. Commander, you're on with me and Lisa. Progress report? Jane Howard's voice came through clearly. We're getting there, Alan replied. The system is taking shape, but we're facing power challenges. We might need to tap into more of the national grid. Whatever you need, Jane said without hesitation. Just tell me where to direct resources. How are things on your end? Alan asked. Ambassador Green is meeting with the alien delegation in 6 hours. The diplomatic team is prepped to stall as long as possible. They'll ask for clarifications on all 217 points of the integration charter. Alan smiled despite his exhaustion. That should buy us some time. The Defiant launches in 3 hours, Jane continued. Captain Barnes will gather the intelligence we need on their weapon systems. That should help you fine-tune the shield. After ending the call, Alan turned to Lisa. We need to find a solution to the power problem. What if we linked the global power grids? Lisa shook her head. Even with every power plant on Earth running at maximum capacity, we'd still fall short. What we need is something more efficient. Alan stared at his equations. Something was missing. A more elegant solution that would require less brute force. What if, he began slowly, we don't try to block their weapons entirely? What if we redirect the energy instead? Lisa's eyes widened. A redirection field instead of a cancellation field? Yes, Alan said, excitement building in his voice. If we can't stop the energy, let's put it somewhere else, like a cosmic mirror. As they worked through the new approach, Captain Keith Barnes stood on the bridge of the UNS Defiant. At 45, Barnes had the distinguished look of a career officer. His dark hair was starting to gray at the temples and lines formed around his eyes when he smiled, which wasn't often these days. Final systems check complete, Captain, reported his first officer, Lieutenant Susan Bailey. We're ready for launch. Keith nodded, studying the tactical display. The hegemony ships were positioned strategically around Earth, a perfect blockade formation. Their design was unlike anything humans had created. Sleek vessels with no visible engines or weapons, but sensors indicated enormous power readings. Remember our mission, Keith told his crew of 30. Officially, we're a diplomatic support vessel. Unofficially, we need to gather as much data as possible on their weapons and defense systems. Every bit of information could be crucial for Project Guardian. The Defiant was Earth's most advanced spacecraft, a prototype vessel that incorporated alien technology salvaged from a crashed scout ship years earlier. While nowhere near as powerful as the Hegemony fleet, it had advanced sensors and stealth capabilities that might give them an edge in gathering intelligence. Propulsion systems online, reported the helmsman, ready to break orbit on your command. Keith settled into his captain's chair. Take us up, Lieutenant. Nice and easy. We don't want to appear threatening. As the Defiant rose from its concealed hangar, General Frank Miller received his final briefing from Commander Howard. The Defiant will maintain communication silence, except for scheduled check-ins, Jane explained. If something goes wrong, we may not know immediately. Frank's weathered face remained stoic. Barnes knows the risks, so does his crew. What about our conventional defenses? Jane asked. For what it's worth, all military forces worldwide are on high alert, Frank replied. If the shield fails, we'll throw everything we have at them. It won't be enough, but we'll make them work for it. Jane nodded. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. On the diplomatic front, Ambassador Ryan Green and his team of 5 prepared to board a shuttle that would take them to the Hegemony flagship. A specialist in international law, Ryan had never imagined his skills would be tested in interstellar diplomacy. Remember, he told his team, our job is to appear cooperative while expressing reasonable concerns, ask questions, request clarifications, suggest modifications to protect cultural heritage, anything to buy time. His deputy, Sofia Martinez, nodded. How long do we need to stall? As long as possible, Ryan replied. Dr. Cruz needs at least 5 more days. In orbit, High Executor Vexmore of the Hegemony Fleet observed Earth with growing curiosity. The blue planet was unlike others they had incorporated over the millennia. Most species either surrendered immediately or launched hopeless attacks. Humans were doing neither. Their diplomatic team is approaching, reported his second-in-command. Should we scan them for weapons? No need, Vexmore replied. They pose no threat. Allow them to dock. What Vexmore couldn't know was that deep beneath Earth's surface and scattered throughout the solar system, thousands of quantum field generators were being activated and synchronized. The pieces of Project Guardian were coming together, one by one. Back in Nevada, Alan Cruz made a breakthrough. His new equations predicted that a redirective field would require 60% less power than a cancellation field. It was the solution they needed. Lisa, he called out, excitement in his voice. I think I've got it. Lisa rushed over, studying his calculations. A smile spread across her face. This could work. We'd need to reconfigure the satellites, but it's doable. Alan felt hope for the first time in days. How long to implement the changes? 3 days, Lisa replied. Maybe 4. We have 5 at most, Alan said. Let's get to work. As Earth's scientists raced against time, the UNS Defiant approached the Hegemony fleet. Captain Barnes observed the alien vessels with a mixture of awe and determination. Begin passive scans, he ordered quietly. Let's see what we're up against. On his display, data began to flow in. Power readings, hull compositions, energy signatures. The information would be crucial for Project Guardian's success. Unknown to the aliens, humanity wasn't preparing to submit. Across the planet, in secret facilities and hidden laboratories, thousands worked tirelessly on their only hope of remaining free. The quantum field generators were Earth's answer to the Hegemony's ultimatum. Not a weapon of destruction, but a shield that would change the rules of engagement entirely. As night fell over Nevada, Dr. Cruz stepped outside the facility for a moment of fresh air. He looked up at the stars, knowing that among them lurked vessels that could destroy his world. Yet instead of fear, he felt determination. We're not giving up our home, he whispered to the night sky. Not today, not ever. 3 days into negotiations, the patience of the Galactic Hegemony was wearing thin. Ambassador Ryan Green sat at the long table aboard the alien flagship, surrounded by his small team of diplomats. Across from them, Delegate Zorvak and 3 other alien representatives stared with barely hidden frustration. Ambassador Green, Zorvak began, his translated voice carrying an edge. We have spent 72 hours discussing your concerns about cultural preservation. We have clarified all 217 points of the integration charter. There is nothing left to discuss. Ryan maintained a pleasant smile. Actually, Delegate, we have several new questions about Section 42 regarding resource quotas. Our economists have prepared a detailed analysis that— Enough! The word wasn't shouted, but it cut through the room like a blade. High Executor Vexmore had entered, his tall figure imposing in the doorway. Unlike the other aliens whose blue skin had a soft, almost luminous quality, Vexmore's was darker, marked with symbols of rank. "The Council finds your delaying tactics transparent," Vexmore said, walking slowly toward the table. "You will provide your formal response within one planetary rotation, or we will consider it rejection." Ryan felt sweat forming on his brow but kept his composure. "Of course, Executor. Earth appreciates the Council's patience during this transition. We simply want to ensure a smooth integration that respects both our cultures." Vexmore's eyes, 3 of them, arranged in a triangle, narrowed slightly. "You have until tomorrow. No more delays." As the Earth delegation was escorted back to their shuttle, Sofia Martinez leaned close to Ryan. "That buys us 24 hours. Will it be enough?" Ryan checked his secure communicator once they were alone in the shuttle. "It has to be. Dr. Cruz needs just a little more time." Meanwhile, aboard the UNS Defiant, Captain Keith Barnes studied the data they had gathered on the hegemony fleet. His ship had maintained position near one of the alien vessels for 3 days, running continuous passive scans under the guise of diplomatic support. "What have we learned?" he asked his science officer, Lieutenant Paul Riley. Paul, a brilliant physicist in his own right, displayed the analysis on the main screen. "Their weapon systems are based on principles similar to our theoretical particle beam weapons, but thousands of times more powerful. They could vaporize a city with a single shot." Keith frowned. "Any weaknesses?" "Not in the conventional sense," Paul replied. "But we've identified their energy signatures. If Dr. Cruz's quantum field works as designed, we can tune it specifically to these frequencies. Transmit the data to Nevada immediately," Keith ordered. "Encoded channel maximum security." Back on Earth in the underground facility, Dr. Alan Cruz received the transmission from the Defiant. Lisa Donovan stood beside him as they reviewed the new information. "This is exactly what we needed," Alan said, excitement breaking through his exhaustion. "With these energy signatures, we can fine-tune the redirective field." Lisa studied the data. "According to this, their weapons are even more powerful than we estimated. But now we know precisely what we're dealing with," Alan replied. "How close are we to completion?" "The global network is at 93%, Lisa reported. Mars installation is fully operational. Europa came online 6 hours ago. The satellites have been reconfigured for the redirective approach." Alan pulled up the master control interface, a simple display that belied the complexity of the system it controlled. "Once activated, we'll have approximately 72 hours before the power requirements exceed our capacity," he explained. "But that should be enough time." At the United Defense Council headquarters, Commander Jane Howard received updates from all fronts. The diplomatic team had bought them one more day. The Defiant had collected critical data. Dr. Cruz was ready to activate Project Guardian. "We need to inform world leaders," General Frank Miller pointed out. "They should prepare their people." Jane nodded. "Agreed. But we keep the details of Guardian classified. If there's a leak, the hegemony might change tactics." Director Olivia Blackwell from Earth Intelligence joined them, her face grim. "Our satellites have detected movement in the hegemony fleet. They're repositioning for what appears to be attack formation." "They're losing patience," Jane said. "We're out of time. Contact Dr. Cruz and tell him to activate Guardian as soon as possible." As night fell across America, Dr. Cruz received the order. His team gathered around the control center, faces tense but determined. "This is what we've been working for," he told them. "If this works, we change the balance of power. If it doesn't," he left the sentence unfinished. They all knew what failure meant. Lisa's console chimed. "All systems reporting ready. Awaiting final authorization." Alan took a deep breath, looking around at the faces of his team. Some he had worked with for years, others had joined when the project accelerated. All had worked tirelessly, sacrificing sleep, time with family, everything to give Earth a chance. "Activate Guardian," he ordered. Lisa entered the command sequence. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, one by one, lights on the global map began to glow green as facilities across the planet came online, Deep underground in locations across every continent, massive generators hummed to life. In space, hidden satellites adjusted their positions. On Mars and Europa, concealed installations powered up. The quantum field began to form, not a shield exactly, but something far more sophisticated. Field generation at 20%, Lisa reported. 30, 40. The numbers climbed steadily. In space, aboard the Hegemony flagship, alarms blared suddenly. Vexamore was jarred from his rest period. "Executor," called the sensor officer, panic in his voice. "We're detecting a massive energy buildup across the planet." Vexamore moved swiftly to the command center. "Analysis." "Unknown technology," the officer replied. "Energy readings are off our scales, originating from multiple points on the planet and beyond. We're also detecting similar energy signatures from Mars and one of Jupiter's moons." Vexamore's training took over. In 17,000 years of hegemony expansion, no species had ever revealed advanced technology after initial contact. This violated all known patterns. "They're hiding something," he growled. "Begin charging. Weapons. Target their largest population centers." Throughout the hegemony fleet, powerful weapon systems came online, drawing energy from their advanced power cores. The ships moved into attack positions, targeting Earth's major cities. "Energy. Weapons at full charge," reported the weapons officer. "Awaiting your command." Vexamore hesitated for just a moment. In all his centuries of service, he had overseen dozens of integrations. Some required shows of force, but none had ever presented a real challenge. This primitive planet shouldn't be any different. "Fire," he ordered. Brilliant beams of energy, lanced from the lead ships aimed at Earth's surface. The destructive power in each beam could level a city, vaporizing everything within a 10-mile radius. Back in Nevada, the control room erupted in activity. "They're firing!" someone shouted. Alan and Lisa watched tensely as the status display showed the quantum field strength. "Field at 87%, Lisa reported, her voice remarkably steady. 90, 95%. On screens around the room, they watched satellite footage of the energy beams streaking toward Earth. In Washington, D.C., New York, Beijing, Moscow, London, and other major cities, people looked up to see strange lights in the sky. What appeared to be shooting, stars heading directly toward them. "Field at 100%, Lisa announced just as the beams reached Earth's atmosphere. And then something remarkable happened. The deadly energy beams simply vanished. One moment they were streaking toward their targets, and the next, they were gone. Not deflected or absorbed, the energy simply ceased to exist as it contacted the quantum field. In the Nevada facility, cheers erupted. The system worked. Project Guardian had succeeded. "Containment holding steady," Lisa reported, grinning despite her exhaustion. "The redirective field is functioning exactly as designed." Alan collapsed into his chair, relief washing over him. "We did it," he whispered. In the United Defense Council room, Commander Jane Howard watched the satellite feeds with the other leaders. As the alien weapons disappeared harmlessly against Earth's new defense, she allowed herself a small smile. "Now," she said, "we negotiate from a position of strength." High Executive Vexamore stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The hegemony's most powerful weapons had simply vanished before reaching Earth's surface. Not deflected, not absorbed. They had ceased to exist. "Fire again," he ordered, his voice cold with fury. "All ships, maximum power." The hegemony fleet responded immediately. 23 vessels fired in unison, unleashing a barrage that should have turned Earth's surface to molten glass. Once again, the deadly beams disappeared upon contact with the invisible barrier surrounding the planet. "Impossible," Vexamore hissed. "No Level 3 civilization has this technology." His science officer worked frantically at her station. "Analysis indicates some form of quantum field manipulation. It's creating a localized alteration in how energy propagates through space." "Can we penetrate it?" Vexamore demanded. "Unknown. We've never encountered this defense before." What made the situation more perplexing was that Earth wasn't attacking back. The quantum field was purely defensive, a statement rather than a weapon. In 40,000 years of hegemony history, no newly contacted species had ever responded this way. Aboard the UNS Defiant, Captain Keith Barnes watched the hegemony's failed attack with a mixture of relief and pride. "They're trying different weapon configurations," reported Lieutenant Riley, studying the sensor readings. "Adjusting frequencies, power levels, trying to find a weakness." Keith nodded. "Let's get closer. I want detailed scans of their reactions." Defiant moved carefully around the edge of the confrontation, its advanced stealth systems keeping it relatively unnoticed amid the hegemony's confusion. "Sir," called the communications officer, "we're receiving a message from Earth Command. Commander Howard wants us to approach the hegemony flagship and request communication." Keith raised an eyebrow. "They want us to reveal ourselves now?" "Yes, sir. They say it's time for Phase 2. Keith took a deep breath. The Defiant was Earth's most advanced ship, but it was like a rowboat compared to the hegemony vessels. Still, with the quantum field protecting them, perhaps it was time to be bold. "Set course for the hegemony flagship," he ordered. "Open a channel when we're in range." Back on Earth, Commander Jane Howard stood in the United Defense Council chamber, now filled with world leaders who had been briefed on Project Guardian. The room buzzed with cautious optimism as they watched the failed hegemony attacks on large screens. "How long can we maintain the shield?" asked the President of the United States. Dr. Alan Cruz, who had been brought in to brief the leaders, answered, "Approximately 72 hours at current power levels. After that, we'll face cascading system failures unless we find a more sustainable energy source." 3 days to save the world, Jane said. "It should be enough time. The Defiant is moving to establish communication with the hegemony fleet." "What exactly are we offering them?" asked the Chinese premier. Jane turned to face the gathered leaders. "Not surrender, that's for certain. We're proposing a different relationship, one of mutual respect and cooperation." In Nevada, Lisa Donovan monitored the quantum field's stability. The system was holding steady, despite the hegemony's increasingly desperate attacks. Various weapon types, energy beams, exotic particles, even some form of gravity manipulation, all failed against the redirective field. "They're getting creative," she remarked to her team. "But nothing's breaking through." One of the junior engineers looked up from his station. "Dr. Donovan, I'm detecting unusual readings from the Mars installation. Power fluctuations." Lisa frowned. "Compensate using the backup generators. We can't afford any weak points in the field." As engineers worked to maintain Earth's defenses, the UNS Defiant approached the hegemony flagship. Captain Barnes stood tall on his bridge, straightening his uniform. "We're being scanned," Lieutenant Riley warned. "Let them look," Keith replied. "Open a channel." The main screen flickered to life, showing Vexmore's face. The alien's 3 eyes narrowed at the sight of the human vessel. "This is Captain Keith Barnes of the United Nations ship Defiant," Keith began. "I request to speak with the Hegemony Council regarding recent events." Vexmore's expression was unreadable to human eyes, but his tone conveyed surprise. "You wish to negotiate now? After revealing hidden technology and rejecting integration?" Keith maintained a calm demeanor. "We wish to propose an alternative to your standard integration process, one that might benefit both our peoples more than conflict." After a long pause, Vexmore responded, "You may dock at Airlock 7. You, and 2 others only." Keith selected Lieutenant Riley for his scientific knowledge and Lieutenant Bailey as security. Together they boarded the hegemony vessel, finding themselves in a vast chamber with curved walls that seemed to shift colors subtly. Vexmore awaited them, flanked by guards. "Explain yourselves," he demanded without preamble. Keith stepped forward. "The Hegemony Council believes they have the right to rule because they have always been the strongest. Today that changes. Earth does not seek conflict, but we will not be subjugated. We propose a different relationship, one of mutual respect and cooperation." "Your defensive technology," Vexmore began, "is beyond anything we've encountered from a newly contacted species. How did you develop it? The same way we've developed everything, Keith replied. Necessity, creativity, determination. Humans have a long history of finding solutions when backed into corners. For 3 days, the hegemony ships tested Earth's defenses, employing increasingly exotic weapons. Nothing penetrated the quantum field. Meanwhile, on the diplomatic front, Earth's leaders prepared their terms, not of surrender, but of alliance. Commander, Jane Howard coordinated efforts from the Defense Council chamber. The Mars installation is stable again, she reported to the assembled leaders. But Dr. Cruz confirms we're approaching our power limits. We need to reach an agreement soon. The 5th day, something unprecedented happened. A new vessel appeared in Earth orbit, larger than any in the current fleet, with markings that even the hegemony ships seemed to acknowledge with deference. We're receiving a transmission, announced the communications officer. It's from the Galactic Council itself. The room fell silent as the largest screen filled with the image of an alien unlike the others. This one appeared older, with paler skin and elaborate markings. I am Elder Zontel of the Galactic Hegemony Council, the alien began. Your defensive capabilities have drawn our direct attention. In 40,000 years, this is unusual. Jane stepped forward. This is Commander Jane Howard of Earth's United Defense Council. We are prepared to discuss terms for peaceful cooperation. We will meet, the elder stated simply. Prepare your representatives. For the first time in its long history, the Galactic Council was forced to negotiate with a newly encountered species as equals. Ambassador Ryan Green, Commander Howard, and Dr. Cruz were selected to represent Earth. The meeting took place aboard a neutral vessel at the edge of the quantum field. Ambassador Green presented Earth's proposal, a revised charter that would recognize humanity's sovereignty while establishing protocols for peaceful exchange of knowledge and resources. Your quantum field technology, began the council elder, studying the humans with intense curiosity, is beyond anything we've encountered. Several of our scientists believe it impossible. Yet here we are, Ryan replied simply. The council has ruled this sector for millennia, the elder continued. We have incorporated hundreds of civilizations. Perhaps that's the difference, Ryan suggested. Earth doesn't wish to be incorporated. We wish to be partners. As negotiations proceeded, Dr. Cruz worked frantically with hegemony scientists to find a sustainable power source for the quantum field. They had gambled everything on this demonstration of strength, knowing they couldn't maintain it indefinitely. Your power generation methods are incredibly inefficient, remarked a hegemony scientist, examining Earth's designs. We're aware, Alan replied dryly. That's partly why we're here. In the end, it was the hegemony's own technology that provided the solution. As part of the new alliance, they would share their advanced power generation methods, allowing Earth to maintain its defensive capabilities while opening peaceful exchange. 7 days after the hegemony's failed attack, representatives from Earth and the Galactic Council signed a historic agreement. Earth would join the interstellar community not as a subject world, but as a full member with special status, recognizing its unique defensive technology. This changes everything, the council elder admitted during the signing ceremony. For the first time, we must reconsider our approach to emerging civilizations. Commander Jane Howard watched the ceremony from Earth, her thoughts already turning to humanity's future among the stars. We didn't just save ourselves today, she remarked to General Miller, who stood beside her. We changed the rules of the game. Frank nodded thoughtfully. The universe just got a lot more interesting. As news spread across Earth that the alien fleet would depart peacefully, people emerged from shelters and lookout points to gaze at the sky. For most, the details of what had happened remained classified. They knew only that humanity had somehow avoided subjugation and earned respect among the stars. In Nevada, Dr. Cruz and Lisa stood outside their facility, looking up at the night sky where the last hegemony ships were visible as moving points of light. What do you think happens next? Lisa asked.